what I did find was a very much an aging friend scheme and really not much else. So we had about 700 or so friends, which isn't huge, about 60 or so patrons. There wasn't really a big range of differences. People they'd just been supporting for such a long time. They were used to just getting the same benefits, and it was really time to do something about it. So where did I start? Obviously, the first place where to look is data. And unfortunately, I discovered that as a touring company, we don't still sell our own tickets. We don't own our box office data. So I knew, where our current supporters lived and how long they'd been supporting us for, but I had no idea about how many tickets they bought, how much they spent, what kind of work they liked, none of that information. And the same for people who could be prospective donors. I had absolutely no idea who they were. So we had some information here and there. There was a mailing list of people who just went on the website and signed up for newsletters, but I couldn't do any of the work that I was used to doing at South Bank Centre, which is where I was before, of just segmenting your information based on purchase habits. So we did as much as possible. We did surveys, we did focus groups, both from existing supporters and for the people who we thought could be potential supporters. So we went out to our social media and asked for people to volunteer to be part of this big survey. And we got some information together. And then at the same time as trying to find out about our supporters and potential supporters, we looked at what the possible benefits that we could offer were. So we just literally did a big brainstorming exercise and listed out everything from priority booking to our e-newsletters to coming into a studio and watch a rehearsal to meeting a dancer, anything that could be a potential benefit, and try to attribute a value to that, a monetary value, so that we could start to build some packages. And we then created some levels based on how much people we felt could want to give to get those benefits. And we then tried and tested some of those levels. So we asked for people to sign up for these levels and followed them for about 6 months or so to get a sense of how useful and how effective they were in engaging people and making sure that that they were good membership levels. Because I was so anxious about making sure that I didn't lose any of the supporters that we had, I was almost ashamed of the fact that I had made these changes. So when I was having conversation with people who were supporting us, maybe who had supported us for such a long time and who obviously knew a lot more about ballet than I did, and felt that kind of sense of ownership of the organization, I wasn't as confident as I should have been in justifying the changes and why we had to make them, and the work that we'd done to get to where we were with the new scheme. So I guess the first learning was really, when you have done all this work and you have got your new schemes or whatever thing you're doing, as you change the way that you're managing your individual giving, is own it. So don't be scared of communicate. You've done your homework, you've done your research, you've really spent time getting these things together. Don't be shy, don't be scared of what you've done. Be proud of it, because if you don't believe in it yourself, none of your supporters will. So it's just really important that you feel completely confident when you are making changes and go through with them fully. Then, 3 years on, and then suddenly cracks start to show and things aren't quite as happy and rosy as they are. The system is really clogged. We basically generated so much admin by trying to do so well, all of those personalized communications and all of the, going out to all the venues trying to get this discount sorted and trying to communicate all of those things. And just, we created so much admin for ourselves that we just couldn't really cope, and just trying to create ways of fulfilling those benefits in creative and exciting ways. We were stuck. We just couldn't do it anymore. And of course, as a small charity, there was absolutely no budget to have any additional resources brought into the team. And so also we found that our donors were really focused on benefits because we had focused so much on what they could get out of the schemes. Obviously it had worked because it was really good value for money. They were having a great time coming into all of our events, and we had really nice feedback about how engaged they felt and how much better we were than the other place. But they were so focused on the benefits that suddenly, if something went wrong with those benefits, it was a tragedy. So if one of the patrons rang you up on Christmas Eve, wanted to get in a ticket for the matinee that day, and you couldn't be there to deliver that ticket to them within half an hour, suddenly it was a disaster. And actually, we found we were ourselves too reliant on benefits and on offering those benefits to recruit new donors. So not really a great place. However, because we were doing so well in terms of revenue and bringing in more money, there was a reluctance in acknowledging that was an issue. We were kind of like, we can just work a bit extra hard and make it all happen still. And so what we did, it was a half-hearted attempt at solving things. And so we diversified the offer slightly because we thought, well, if we create some other options for people to give money to, then we won't have so many patrons anymore because they'll want to give to production syndicates, they want to give to appeals, they want to support dancers. So we put these other initiatives in place, trying to decrease the number of patrons and just focusing them on other ways in which they could give that was maybe less difficult to deliver or less hard work to deliver. But was it really addressing the problem? Actually, it wasn't, because what happened was they were still renewing as patrons while also giving to other things. So actually, again, great for revenue, but it was just creating even more work for ourselves. And really, it wasn't sustainable. We had created something that was good in some ways, but just really completely unsustainable in terms of the organization and what we could actually deliver. So I guess my second learning for that would be to take stock with no fear. I think if you're trying to solve a problem or address a problem by tiptoeing around it and not really acknowledging what it is that is the problem, which is we're giving away too much, the benefits are too good. We can't really keep doing that for people who are giving us £50 a year. I think just have to really, really be honest and say, stand up and say, look, we've created something that we just can't sustain anymore. It's going to have to change, and it's going to be painful because we've been relying on it so much, and and people like it, but it just can't continue. So we decided to take a completely new approach for the friends and patrons, which is really to make space for bigger stuff. We decided that it was time to really declutter all that administration that we'd created and invested in some new systems, so a new database and a new finance system as well that really helped us to just streamline what we were doing. The focus was on giving people people as in the team members, more space to be fundraisers and not administrators. Because if you're spending all of your time, handwriting invitations, because it looks nice when you handwrite it, handwrite all the names, lovely. But do you really need to do that? Is a patron more likely to come to an event because you've got a beautiful handwriting on that invite, or can we just send it to print and it won't maybe look quite as nice, but we've saved a whole day's worth of time. So taking people away from their desks, just doing lots of admin and get them out there talking to patrons and getting them to really understand why we need the money. We had a lovely scheme called the Ballet Buddy scheme. So this was for children aged between 3 and 10. They could pay £25 a year, which I think is, about $20. And they got a whole range of benefits, including coming in and watch, meet the dancers, watch the dancers. And it was a lovely scheme. We had about 300 children on it. They loved to come in and meet the dancers, had a great time for each event. But we really had to ask ourselves, is it a good fundraising scheme? Is it really bringing in money? And the answer was no. So we had to phase it out, and it had to go, which is a shame because, lovely experience for everybody. Children loved it. We had there was a lovely photo shoot where they came in and looked at our costumes department, but it had to go. So that's my third point, which is, just be ruthless. if it's not, I'm not there to make sure that children have a lovely time, that their mums have a lovely time. I'm there to generate revenue. And, if it's not bringing in the money, I'm not doing it. Full stop. So really, like, where we wanted to take things to for the next level, again, focus on the philanthropic giving and not on the transactional benefit. And this has been really hard because obviously we created this culture of people wanting those benefits. And so how we did that was by changing the way we were telling the story. So finding really good example of the good stuff that we were doing, both artistically and with our engagement work. If you open an email, it doesn't now say, come to see Sleeping Beauty because you get 20% off tickets. It will say, come to Sleeping Beauty because we've got some amazing dancers from, all over the place coming in as guests, because, it's really just about focusing on the work and about why it's important for people to support it and not on what they get back.